Like for example, I look at banks are my biggest partner. And you look at the contract a bank rolls out for a mortgage, it has all the details in it, right?
Absolutely.
You're ultimately on the hook for paying us our money, or we take the property. And that bank is my partner. You know what I mean? So, but they're an institution. Banks have lots of legalities around them. You know, and it's not often that banks commit highway robbery, although it does happen though. Yo, what's up? It's your boy Will Motivation, and today we're talking about my advice on the #1 way for you to get started investing in real estate. What's up, everybody? This is your boy Will Motivation, and today got a special guest on the channel, my good friend from way back in the day that you've probably seen on some of my other videos before, my friend Sean.
What's up, YouTube?
What's up, bro? I appreciate you coming to talk to the audience and share some of your experiences. In case you guys don't know, I know you guys have seen Sean in some of my videos, like when we went to some of the car shows and things like that. But what you guys might not have known is that Sean also has his real estate license here in Ohio. So I asked Sean to come on and kind of share some of his experiences, because I talk about a lot of my experiences investing in real estate, from my worst scenario where I had a condo that was underwater, but I kind of figured because this condo is underwater, then maybe there's a bunch of other opportunities out there because the market was really low, and then I started investing in real estate. So I had that one situation, but with your experience being a realtor, having clients that may have had bumped their head, maybe had some experiences. What I want to do in this video is talk about things that people should look out for when they first start getting into investing in real estate. And he told me an interesting story about one of your clients that I thought would be a great story to share with the audience, so that they can make sure to look out for scammers that might be out there, or people that are looking for first-time investors or new investors to invest in them, but then they turn around and maybe do something not so proper with your investment money, or whatever the situation might be. So if you can share some of your experiences with some of your clients, maybe tell the story of the client that you told me about, so that folks can kind of know what to look out for.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, man, I just want to say thank you for having me on your channel. And really appreciate seeing you. I've known Will probably since I was 5 years old, and I always tease him of the story about how he knows what I'm talking about.
You make me sound like I'm a hustler.
Yeah, he hustled me out of my G.I. Joe man and He-Man, yeah. So I had a bunch of He-Man, and somehow he was able to, sell me or we traded.
2 for 1. I think I gave him 2 for 1.
Yeah, something like that. And he gave me an Aquaman with no head or something like that. But anyway, thank you so much, man. And I want to congratulate you on all your success. And
I appreciate it.
And so forth.
Bro, it's the same to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you kind of one of the people here in the community that kind of goes under the radar, but you have a very thriving. Sean is also an entrepreneur. He has his own thriving business. I don't know if you want to touch on that. Briefly, as far as what you do there, and then how you also got into the real estate.
Okay. Well, my business right now, I'm doing is I help people with disabilities. So we do supported living for people with disabilities, and it's more 24/7 residential care is what we provide. So, and I've been doing it since 2009. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, we can talk more about that later.
Yeah.
Right now, let's get to some of the things that we wanted to discuss, and I can share about the experiences that I've witnessed, and one of my friends had unfortunately encountered along the way.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So he, got scammed. Coming into real estate, doing his first major deal, I should say.
Okay.
And the thing is, he had befriended a guy who gave him an opportunity to do some small deals, and they were on a scale of like $5,000 or something like that, and he
The
got,
properties were 5,000,
well, no,
or the investment?
the
was
investment,
5,000?
yeah,
Okay.
the investment, and so he did one deal and got a return in like 45, 60 days.
Okay.
Did that, and then he did that a few times.
What kind of return was it?
It was probably, so he put in like 5,000 and got $2,500 out of that.
Okay, so it was like a 50% return.
Yeah, 50%, which is good.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and you're talking about in a 45, 60 day time frame. So,
And it was through real estate, right?
yeah, through real estate.
Okay, cool.
So the guy was actually a rehabber,
Okay.
and so forth. He was also he worked in the real estate industry too.
Okay.
But nonetheless, after doing that, and he said, you know what, I think I really want to do more, and he wanted to learn the flipping business. And he
Your client or
the client?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
the client. So my friend wanted to learn the flipping business, and what ended up happening was the guy actually had a list of properties.
Okay.
And I think it was back then, known as wholesaling.
Okay.
But little did he know that when he got involved with this guy, that the guy had already refinanced these properties,
Okay.
pulled all the equity out of them,
Okay.
and pretty much sold it to him.
Okay.
And how he was able to do that, he was able to get inflated appraisals
Okay.
and comps and so forth.
Okay.
So, and the thing is, my friend didn't do his due diligence in terms of research. He didn't have a realtor, and he was very trusting.
Was there an official closing with a
Title company?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was the title company in good with the guy running the scam?
Yes.
Okay. So that's something that you guys need to pay attention to. Is sometimes you get these hustler types that have these opportunities that may be a little bit too good to be true. Or they maybe give you a taste of something, right? And then they want you to come in and invest more. But you got to be careful because usually an independent title company will be able to sniff stuff out, right? Who did you use for the appraiser? Maybe this guy has a certain reputation, and then you get to choose as the buyer. You get to choose the title company. So that's one thing to pay attention to. So the title company and the guy running the scam or whatever. They knew each other, and he probably picked that title company out. Okay, so what else happened?
Well, after that, unfortunately, the guy had about 5 properties with him, and was able to get 5 properties from him, I should say.
Okay.
And
and there were properties that he had that he sold.
Yeah. So he was promised this money, and then he was going to help him rehab them and so forth, and that never happened, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so therefore he was left trying to figure out what to do next. What was the next step?
And those properties needed to be rehabbed before they could be rented or sold.
Yes. And
Okay. And that could be a lot of money.
Yeah. Some were purchased, unfortunately, sight unseen.
Okay.
So as
Okay.
well. So
based on the trust of that relationship.
yeah, based on that.
Okay.
So you never want to purchase a property, that you haven't walked through. Especially if you're a first time investor.
Right.
Not, this is not your way of living, and you're not a very seasoned investor.
So let's talk about how the person that I'm going to classify one as the scammer and then one as the client. So how did the scammer approach the client to work the deal so that people can kind of look out for things? What things can they look out for in people, in that kind of scenario?
Well, in this scenario, I would say that the scammer discouraged the client from using a realtor. So you don't need a realtor to do this deal. This just can be worked out between you.
Because a realtor would be like, wait a minute,
Right.
this appraisal doesn't look like it's on point. They would be able to recognize the comps and recognize what equity is left in the property or not.
And as a realtor, it is our responsibility to look out for our buyer. In situations like this, because as a realtor, we would have been able to to find out those things, pull the comps and say, wait a minute, this isn't right. This property was just, how could this property that was sold 2 months ago now be worth, this amount of money within, that short of time frame that it was sold from. And just other things, other factors to look out for too is just, if it sounds too good to be true, a lot of times, as a buyer, and unfortunately Ohio is a buyer beware state, is and the thing is that you have to be careful, and do your research, and going in. And what I would suggest is, take some real estate classes, take some real estate investing classes, and this is a good plug for Will Motivation's real estate online course. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
But these things I would say is are important because as human beings we can be overzealous. We can say, oh man, we can make so much money, and in real estate we can flip properties and so forth and everything else. And you're watching shows on HGTV and thinking it's really easy and so forth. And
then how often do you get to see the real numbers on all that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, because there are even now there's groups, real estate investing groups that I would encourage your viewers to, wherever you're from. There's one here in Columbus, and that it's a small fee. It's a small annual fee that you can be involved in, but you have everybody that's in this industry in this particular organization, and it's your local real estate group, investors group.
Yeah.
They may have a fee, a small fee, or it may be free. They have a lot of good information out there for you as first-time investors.
Then you got people that you can bounce ideas off of. So if you maybe get a deal presented to you, you have some people you can bounce that off of.
Right.
So speaking to the course, man, one thing that I did that I would not do on my YouTube channel, but I did do in my course, is I show the actual numbers from every single property that I purchased from the very beginning. Okay. My very first home, I show how much I bought it for, how much the current value is, how much I sold it for, just so people know what is realistic. And also, because to me the numbers look good, but see somebody who's thinking they're going to make $1 million in year one, they might get a reality check. But at the same time, I'm showing real data. Whereas this might be data, when you say take a real estate course, this might not be data that people will be comfortable putting out for the world to see.
Right.
But if there's a certain number of people that are serious about investing that you have a relationship with, might be more comfortable sharing. Even though that information that I put into the course is public access information, so I'm not that sensitive about it, but I did put it in there in the course for that reason. Now, one thing I did want to ask you about the situation with your client, and to me it was interesting because it wasn't just somebody at a high level taking advantage of an inexperienced investor. It was criminal, right?
Oh, it was criminal.
So maybe tell them the ending of what would end up going down for your client and for that particular.
Well, I would say the law enforcement agency wasn't, actually got involved, and it may take time, but eventually it will catch up to you. And this actually took place. They were questioned, and they came in their home and they questioned them and asked them about the transactions that took place, and pretty much saying that they were victimized, and they weren't the only ones. And this particular individual, I understand, was brought up on charges. They were indicted. So, and they did some time for it. Because it's really, if you think about it, you're sucking all the equity out of the property, and you're pretty much it's just like robbing a bank without a gun at this point. So,
yeah.
That's what it is.
So you guys really have to be careful because this could happen to anybody, especially when you're first getting started. You want to have second and third opinions on your transactions. And what you mentioned, I think is key, is having a good realtor. So shout out to my realtor, Rich. Shout out to you for getting your license and starting to help people with those transactions. But if you had a good realtor you and that realtor have the relationship, so that you can have some trust in that realtor. And then when another person comes along that doesn't have a relationship with your realtor can be an independent person for you to sniff out that deal to say, hey, this sounds like a good deal, or maybe it doesn't. And if they're looking out for the long-term relationship, you got a good realtor, they'll definitely do that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. What has your experience been as far as when you're doing your rehabs and your flips, as far as working with contractors?
Man, I could tell you a long story. So I would say, where I bumped my head, I had a situation where I had a house underwater, right? And that house is just barely above water now, but it prompted me to turn a bad situation into a totally good situation and start to invest. But as a part of that journey of investing, I have come across contractors that have maybe taken advantage of not my naivety, because I always knew what contractors do or can do, but took advantage of me and my situation of not having time to cross the T's and dot the I's, right? A lot of times I'm trying to get stuff done quick. If you've already done a good job for me before, I may trust you to do more, trust you more and more. And in my situation, I ended up trusting a particular contractor a lot because we had done a lot of small projects together. I gave him a really big project, and it ended up kind of burning me in the pocket and that relationship, you know. And then other contractors have done the same thing, but you got to know, you know, that's why they call them contract. You got to have a contract. And you got to make sure when it comes to the money and paying those contractors, you have a schedule and that they meet their end of the bargain, and then it's okay for you to meet your end of the bargain. But, you know, and the good contractors, at the end of the day, man, the good contractors cost money, or they take time for them to get off another project and give you some time on your project. So, you know, I have a whole section in the course on dealing with contractors, everything from evaluating the contractors to selecting the contractors, where to find the contractors. You know, there's I want to say 5 class sessions on, including, you know, my personal experience with dealing with contractors. So you just got to be careful, and, you know, if you don't cross the T's and dot the I's, then you're putting yourself at risk. And when I have gotten burned, it's usually been that. Unfortunately, almost all contractors are not good with paperwork. They're not good with running their business operations. They might be good at doing the work, but when you're not good at doing all the business operations, the paperwork and all that stuff, then they can accidentally. All right, so we're talking about you know, experiences that Sean has as a realtor, someone who has his real estate license, who had to study, had to take tests for that, has some experience working with different clients, and we're trying to share information so that you don't make some of the mistakes that some of us have made, or, you know, some of your clients may have made, so that you can basically save yourself a lot of time and money. Now, there's some other things that, as we're on the subject of real estate, there was something that you kind of wanted to bring up that we might share as well with the audience.
Well, I mean, even if, you know, you were talking about contractors and so forth, and if you're selecting a contractor, I also want to touch on that a little bit too. And one thing I thought about was, you know, just because, you know, this person goes to your church, or you know this person, or you're a friend with person. Right. At the end of the day, business is business.
Business is business.
And you want to make sure that you do have a contract, and that you don't cut corners in this contract, because you could ultimately pay a price, and a very costly price at that. But the other thing I want to talk about is you know, partnerships. So when you're partnering on a deal in real estate, and, you know, what that looks like, and you know, I can share a little bit about what I know. I haven't really partnered with anybody on any deals, but you want to make sure, you know, just advice that you have your paperwork together. You know, you're in contract together. You have a, you know, study those things, those partnerships. You know whether or not if you're forming an LLC together, an operating agreement. I'm not an attorney, but, you know, maybe have your attorney, if you find an attorney, draft an operating agreement up. As far as, you know, if something ever happens to you, you know, does the business side, your side goes to your family, or who does it go to? What happens to the business? So those things you want to look at.
Yeah, man. When it comes to partnerships, on the real estate side, I consider my partners, you know, my realtor is my partner. The title company is my partner. They get a cut. The realtor gets a cut. The buyer's realtor, for example, you know, on that side, my partner. Now, I have not done a lot of partnerships with individuals that might be fellow investors, for example. I don't think I've done any of those deals. Because my dad told me something a long time ago that stuck with me. He said, when you got a partner, you got a master. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He said, because if you decide to work harder, like let's say you got a 50-50 partner, and you decide to work harder or put more into the end result than that partner, it's almost like you work for that partner. Because if they're sitting back chilling, and you're doing everything, and they're going to get 50-50. And that never set well with me, so I never really sought out a lot of partnerships. But I do see the value, and I do see companies that get big and grow. There's always partnerships involved at different levels. And I agree with you. If you want to get into an investment situation, where you have partners, make sure everything is detailed out in your contracts and agreements. And you just have as much detail as possible about what happens in certain scenarios, how money gets split up, how money gets put in, all that good stuff. And I would recommend as well, if you do start out with a partnership, do a small, isolated one first. And what I mean by isolated, it means you're not on the hook to do 10 transactions or 10 deals with them. You maybe do one isolated transaction. And then based on how that goes, you might expand it to do more partnerships with that particular person. And then you can make that decision on whether or not that's good or bad. That's what I typically do. Now I have done, from an entrepreneurship perspective, I've done lots of partnerships with other companies and other individuals, and that's what we do. We outline in a contract. And I start to get weary if people don't want to do a contract or don't want to pay attention to those details. I usually realize that it's probably not going to be a good long-term partnership because those details are important.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of my experience. I don't have a whole lot in the real estate side, but I agree with you, man. Contracts are super important. But all partnerships are not bad. A lot of them can be good and can result in huge growth. Like for example, I look at banks are my biggest partner. And if you look at the contract a bank rolls out for a mortgage, it has all the details in it, right?
Absolutely.
You're ultimately on the hook for paying us our money, or we take the property. And that bank is my partner. You know what I mean? So, but they're an institution. Banks have lots of legalities around them. And it's not often that banks commit highway robbery, although it does happen though. It does happen. It happened to my dad a long time ago. Back in the day. With some real estate that he had actually. But I'll save that for another day, another story. But man, I want to say I appreciate you taking the time out to share some of your experiences being a realtor, dealing with some of your clients, so that our viewers and the people watching this particular video understand some things to look out for, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Congratulations as well.
Thank you so much, yeah, absolutely. And again, all your success. And then, YouTube viewers, he's giving away this Lambo. He's putting a raffle in. So, subscribe, like his channel.
He got the inside scoop.
Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for watching today's video. There's a lot more to come. Hit that like button for me and subscribe to my channel. A lot of you guys have been asking me about when is my online course going to be ready. Well, I have good news for you. My online course is completed. I'll put a link in the description of this video where you can click on that link and get a 40% discount off the course. That'll be for the first 50 students. So if you're ready to take the online course that I've basically laid out everything that I know about how to invest in real estate, click the link below or just go to www.willmotivation.com/invest. And thank you guys for taking the time out to watch today's video. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.